Well, let me just run through some of the interesting numbers. You had overall revenues up about 19% to $123 billion. What was interesting, though, was net profit came up at about $9 billion, just a 5.65% rise, which contrasts to the more than 25% rise you saw in 2018 and 28% rise in 2017. A significant slowdown on the profit side of the equation there. And now I caught up with Eric Xu, the rotating chairman of Huawei, who you just heard speaking to then. During that conversation, he revealed that actually the results were in line with some of the projections, but ultimately missed Huawei's internal targets. Now, the final figure that was reported for the year, the 123 billion revenue figure, was what Huawei was projecting back in January 2019. However, as the year went on, things were going good. Around April time, they decided that those internal projections would rise to about 135 billion. That was April time. Then in May, Huawei was thrown on that US blacklist known as the Entity List that restricted a lot of its access to American components and technology, including Google's operating system known as Android for mobile phones. That was a huge hit and essentially led to a $12 billion revenue shortfall for the year. And where most of that came from was, in fact, in that consumer division, which hosts its smartphones. Eric Xu told me that $10 billion of shortfall came from the consumer division. Now, as I mentioned, I had a chance to catch up with him earlier today and talk to him a little bit about these results and what really was going on behind the numbers. Let's listen into what he had to say.
Huawei's 2019 results were basically in line with our initial expectations, but missed our revised targets. We met the target that was set at the beginning of 2019, which was 858.8 billion yuan. However, in April, we realized that our consensus business and consumer business were growing fast. We adjusted and raised our target to 135 billion US dollars. As you know, Huawei was put on the Entity List on May 16th, and we didn't adjust our targets afterwards. We didn't meet our revised targets, which was 135 billion US dollars. We were short by $12 billion. This was the result of the US sanctions. What's encouraging is that despite the challenge, we achieved pretty good results through our hard work and support from our business partners.
Now, the reason I'm talking a lot about the consumer division for Huawei is that it's now become the company's largest division by revenue, accounting for about 54% of revenue, whereas before that was the networking business that was so core. Now, the consumer division overall remained pretty robust. Still, revenue is up about 34% last year, but that's because Huawei was doubling down on its China market. Nearly 3 out of 5 of the smartphones sold last year by Huawei were sold in China, and that shows you the focus it put on the Chinese market after the blacklist. And now I just want to switch topics here and talk a little bit about the coronavirus. Of course, the outbreak here in China, you saw factories shut for a number of weeks. You saw businesses closed for a number of weeks. And that had an impact on Huawei, given the fact a lot of its manufacturing, of course, for its products, from networking equipment to smartphones, does happen here in China. Now, I spoke to Eric Xu a little bit about the impact from the coronavirus. He said it's a bit early to tell right now what the impact's going to be on this year, given the fact now it's spread to the rest of the world. He feels that short term the company could deal with it, but if it goes on over the longer term, perhaps the rest of the year, you could see some significant fallout. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
Our production has fully recovered. There shouldn't be any problem meeting all the demands in the short term. But if the coronavirus pandemic drags on and cannot be contained globally, and some of our suppliers stop production, we are bound to run into difficulties over the long run. Our suppliers across the world have daily briefs to us on their local situation, because their ability to keep production going is crucial to Huawei. We have taken measures to help our suppliers and protect our supply chains from disruptions.
I think on the whole, you'll find Huawei probably pretty happy with the results for 2019, given how tough a year it was. But 2020 is not going to be easy. You've still got the CFO facing extradition in a trial over in Canada. You've still got the US continuing to put Huawei on the blacklist. And on top of that, the Trump administration likely to continue to ramp up pressure on the Chinese technology giant as the year goes on.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.